Here are the top stories for today, October 7, 2021. It's the second to the last day of the filing of candidacy for the 2022 polls. We give you a roundup of who's in and who's out in the race for national positions. The Commission on Elections sets rules in dealing with the last-minute COC filers as it expects an influx of candidates beating the candidacy filing deadline on Friday. President Rodrigo Duterte stands firm on his move prohibiting cabinet officials from attending Senate hearings on the purchase of personal protective equipment amid the pandemic, saying he has to protect them from insults from senators. And over 800,000 doses of Pfizer COVID-19 vaccines arrive in the country and is expected to beef up inoculation in the provinces reeling from a surge in COVID-19 infections. Good day, I am William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The Commission on Elections gears up for the last-minute habit of aspirants in filing their candidacy. The bull body has set rules for those who will show up at the final minutes of the filing period, which will end tomorrow. Comelec spokesperson James Jimenez said they will implement the procedure as stated in Section 24 of the poll body's resolution. Under the rule, if at 4:45 p.m. of the last day of filing of the COC, there are still aspirants inside the designated queuing area intending to file their respective COCs, the receiving officer shall list the names of the aspirants indicating the time of listing. Only those with complete COC shall be listed. Once the name is called, the aspirant shall proceed with the filing of COC. Failure to appear when the name is called may result in non-acceptance of the COC. The Comelec said COCs that are deemed as incomplete are those that have no documentary stamp attached, no signature of the aspirant, not notarized, incomplete address, no photograph, and not completely filled out. The same procedure shall be observed if at 5 p.m. of the last day of filing of the COC, there are still aspirants inside and within 30 meters from the designated queuing area. A COC filed under this procedure shall be stamped received at the time it is actually filed and shall be deemed filed on time. The tentative list of candidates will be posted on October 29 at the poll body's website. Today is the 7th day of the filing of certificates of candidacy for the 2022 national and local elections. Chris Mundo will give us a roundup of what we know so far in the presidential and vice presidential race.
More and more candidates are signifying their intention to run for the country's chief executive position. Just this morning, Vice President Leni Robredo announced that she is all set to run for president in the upcoming 2022 elections. Meanwhile, Robredo's former opponent for the vice presidential post and longtime political figure, Bongbong Marcos, has already filed his COC yesterday under the Partido Federal ng Pilipinas. Marcos earlier said he is confident that he can beat Robredo this time. Marcos' political party has earlier planned to adopt President Rodrigo Duterte to be his running mate, but this changed when the chief executive announced that he is retiring from politics after his term ends in June next year. Meanwhile, Senator Panfilo Lacson and Senate President Vicente Soto III have filed their COC for president and vice president on Wednesday. Lacson said their tandem aims to reinstate the trust of the people in the government. Manila Mayor Isko Moreno Dumagoso also filed his COC for president under Acción Democrático on Monday, along with his running mate Dr. Willie Ong. Senator Manny Pacquiao was the first aspirant to file a COC for president on Friday. His running mate is former Manila Mayor and Buhay Party List Representative Lito Atienza. Senator Christopher Lawrence Go, who was initially proclaimed as the presidential candidate of the ruling Partido Demokratiko Pilipino Lakas ng Bayan or PDP Laban, filed his COC for vice president on Saturday, a position originally offered to President Duterte. On the other hand, Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte stands firm about her decision in running for mayor in the city amid calls for her to run for president. In a Facebook post, Mayor Sara Duterte thanked her supporters for their trust and confidence in her. She also confirmed that she will finish her last term before she would take another position. Taguig Pateros Representative Alan Peter Cayetano also announced he would not run for president in next year's elections, saying he does not want to divide the nation further at a time when unity is what is most needed. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Crismundo.
An investigation is underway on the improper use of the emergency alert system. This after text messages promoting the candidacy of presidential aspirant Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. was sent instead of information about rainfall warnings. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRRMC, said the emergency alert promoting Marcos did not come from them nor their partners in the telecommunications sector. NTC Commissioner Galamiel Cordoba ordered an immediate investigation on the matter. Meanwhile, the camp of Bongbong Marcos said it will support the investigation, saying these were political sabotage. Marcos's chief of staff, lawyer Victor Rodriguez, said such underhanded moves should not be tolerated as the emergency alert system is a tool used to warn the public of disasters. More personalities are joining the race for the senatorial position. This morning, former Vice President Jeju Marbinay has filed his certificate of candidacy for senator under the United Nationalist Alliance Party, or UNA. Also this morning, former Vice President Noli De Castro announced that he is running for senator as he bids goodbye to his radio show. Former Senator Sonny Trillanes is also trying to stage a comeback as he will run for senator under the slate of Vice President Leni Robredo. Other aspirants who have filed their COCs are former Quezon City Mayor Herbert Bautista along with former Makati Representative Monsur Del Rosario. They are among the senatorial bets of the Lacson-Soto tandem. Meanwhile, former Senators Jinggoy Ejercito Estrada and JV Ejercito both seek a Senate seat. Incumbent Senators Juan Miguel Mig Zubiri, Risa Ontiveros, and Joel Villanueva also register their candidacy. Antique Representative Loren Legarda and Sorsogon Governor Chis Escudero are gunning for a Senate comeback. Popular broadcast journalist Rafi Tulfo and lawyer Larry Gadon have also filed their COCs for senator. As for presidential spokesperson Harry Roque, he earlier said he will speak with President Duterte first before deciding on whether or not to file his COC as guest senatorial candidate of PDP Laban. Other guest senatorial candidates of the political party are Public Works Secretary Mark Villar, Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission Chairperson Greco Belhica, and House Deputy Speaker Rodante Marcoleta. Its official senatorial candidates include Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III, Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Salvador Panelo, Transport Secretary Arthur Tugade, and Leyte Representative Lucy Torres Gomez. In the local scene, more aspirants for the next year's congressional, gubernatorial, and local executive positions have already filed their respective certificates of candidacy.
This morning, Ferdinand Alexander Sandro Marcos files his certificate of candidacy for congressman of the 1st District of Ilocos Norte. He is accompanied by his father, presidential candidate Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., his mother Lisa, and cousin Ilocos Norte Governor Matthew Joseph Manoto. In Ormoc City, Mayor Richard Gomez filed his COC formalizing his bid to replace his wife, Leyte 4th District Representative Lucy Torres Gomez. Gomez will run against former Comelec Commissioner Gregorio Larrazabal. Meanwhile, two veteran lawmakers are seeking re-election in their respective areas. Deputy Speaker Neptali Gonzalez filed his COC as representative of the Lone District of Mandaluyong City, while Cavite Representative Elpidio Barzaga Jr. is seeking another 3-year term as representative of the Lone District of Dasmariñas City. In Antique, former National President of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines, Abdiel Dan Elijah Fajardo, filed his COC as representative of the province Lone District under the Liberal Party. Fajardo is the eldest son of the late Daniel Gomban Fajardo, who published the regional newspaper Panay News and served as president of the Iloilo Press Club. In Negros Oriental, incumbent 1st District Representative Jocelyn Lim Caichong has filed her candidacy for a third term in next year's polls. Incumbent Vice Governor Edward Mark Macias officially declared his intention to run for governor and will join Lim Caichong's ticket. He said he will file his COC tomorrow. In Bulacan, it's mentor versus student as Governor Daniel Fernando and his former teacher and longtime partner, Vice Governor Wilhelmino C. Alvarado, are both aiming for the gubernatorial seat in the 2022 elections. Fernando will run under the National Unity Party while Alvarado will be the PDP Laban bet. Alvarado's running mate is former Governor John Mendoza, while Fernando's running mate is board member Alex Castro. And in Antique, local candidates running under the Team Fedelicio filed their COCs at the Comelec Provincial Office. The team is headed by gubernatorial candidate Vicente Fedelicio and his running mate Julius Cesar Tanhanlangit, both under the PDP Laban. They will be slugging it out with re-electionist Governor Rodora Cadiao and Vice Governor Edgar Danosta, but they will adopt Antonio Agapito Legarda as their congressional candidate. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Marita Muaje.
Aspirants for the local chief executive posts have also filed their certificate of candidacies. In General Santos City, the sister-in-law of boxing icon and presidential aspirant Senator Manny Pacquiao has joined the mayoral race for the May 2022 elections. Lorelai Pacquiao is the wife of Senator Pacquiao's younger brother and OFW party list representative Bobby. She was joined by the party's complete slate, supporters, and family members, which included Pacquiao's matriarch Junisha. Her running mate is Senator Pacquiao's former legal counsel, incumbent city councilor Franklin Gacal Jr. Meanwhile, in Bacolod City, Mayor Evelio Leonardo filed his COC for a third and final term under the Villar-led Nacionalista Party. Leonardo will be challenged by businessman and former Negros Occidental 3rd District Representative Alfredo Benitez of the PDP Laban. And in Iloilo, a Thanksgiving Mass instead of the usual pompous celebration was offered to usher the COC filing of Team Uswag Iloilo headed by re-electionist Iloilo City Mayor Jerry Treñas. City Administrator Melchor Tan filed the COC of Treñas, re-electionist Vice Mayor Jeffrey Ganzon, and their slate at the local council. Still to come, withdraw memo on prohibiting cabinet officials from attending Senate hearings. The president says there is no way he will do it. And the Education Department releases the list of 59 schools that will join the pilot run of in-person classes next month. Details ahead. This is the PNA Newsroom.
Mga kabida, hindi pa rin nawawala ang banta ng COVID-19. Upang mapasiguro ang kaligtasan ninyo at ang inyong mga pamilya, hanapin ang safety seal sticker sa inyong mga pupuntahan. Mapa mall, man ito, kainan, pasyalan, o kahit anumang business establishment. Ang safety seal ay tandaan ng isang establishment na sumusunod sa minimum public health standards ng gobyerno upang maiwasan ang pagkalat ng COVID-19. Ating tandaan, bida ang may disiplina. #safety seal para sa ligtas na pamilya, ligtas na bansa. Muli, ito po ang inyong lingkod, bumabati sa inyong lahat. Magkaisa tayo. Manila, God first.
Mga kabida, hindi pa rin nawawala ang banta ng COVID-19. Upang masigurong kaligtasan ninyo at ng inyong pamilya, hanapin ang safety seal sticker na inyong pupuntahan. Mapamall man ito, kainan, pasyalan o kahit anumang business establishment, ang safety seal ay tanda na ang isang establishment ay sumusunod sa minimum public health standards ng gobyerno upang maiwasan ang pagkalat ng COVID-19. Ating tandaan, bida ang may disiplina. #safety seal para sa ligtas na pamilya, ligtas na bayan.
President Rodrigo Duterte rejected calls to withdraw a memorandum barring personnel of the executive branch from attending the Senate probes into the government's handling of COVID-19 response funds. Duterte said only the Supreme Court could decide on whether the memo is unconstitutional, as some sectors believe. He also lambasted the Senate panel for investigating the government's purchases during the height of the pandemic last year, particularly its transactions with Pharmally Pharmaceutical Corporation. He also insisted that the Senate panel was derailing government from focusing their time and effort on addressing the COVID-19 pandemic. Duterte also renewed his challenge to the Senate panel to just file the necessary cases against government officials if they had proof that the government's COVID-19 pandemic purchases were overpriced.
The Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing have clearly devolved into a political circus, a witch hunt which is being used by some senators in aid of their election. The executive department always cooperate with the Senate, but this present hearing and the way that it is being conducted is just too much to bear and tolerate. We will no longer dance to their tune and rather focus on the pandemic response and the national vaccination program.
Meanwhile, the chairman of the House Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability on Wednesday vowed that the panel will be fair, balanced, and legal in reporting the findings of its inquiry on the procurement of alleged overpriced COVID-19 supplies. DUA Party List Representative Michael Edgar Adlipay said the committee report on the recently concluded House hearing would be completed either next month or December. The panel has 60 days to release the report for review and a vote by its members. The committee has already ruled out the issue of overpricing, as it was already clarified by the Commission on Audit Chairman Michael Aguinaldo. The Department of Education on Wednesday released a list of 59 schools that will participate in the pilot face-to-face classes on November 15. In a statement, the DepEd said the listed schools were selected from 638 nominated schools nationwide. It said the schools were recognized by the DOH Epidemiology Bureau as minimal or low risk based on the alert levels of their respective provinces or cities, as well as risk category of the municipality or city. The pilot cases will cover kindergarten to grade 3 learners without existing comorbidities. As for senior high school students, only those taking subjects that require laboratories or workshops will be allowed to attend in-person classes. The DepEd would assess the initial run from November 15 to December 22nd. The pilot study is set to end on January 31. It has scheduled an evaluation of the pilot study for February 2022. Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III led the distribution of cash and livelihood assistance to beneficiaries in Butuan City and Cabadbaran City in Agusan del Norte. Beneficiaries under the DOLE Integrated Livelihood Program, or DILP, and Tupad program received assistance during the series of distribution activities on Tuesday afternoon. The beneficiaries were all affected by the continuing threat of the pandemic in the region. A total of 13.3 million pesos worth of assistance have been released to the DILP beneficiaries in the region. About 329 million pesos were also released during the period to the Tupad beneficiaries. Bello also handed over the awards for the regional winners of the 2021 Search for Outstanding Labor Management Cooperation and Safety seal to companies in the mining industry in the region. The Department of Labor and Employment has distributed some 157.5 million pesos to over 39,000 beneficiaries throughout Region 9 or Zamboanga Peninsula through the Tupad program. Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III personally supervised the release of the Tupad payout during his 2-day visit in the region from Tuesday to Wednesday. Bello said Zamboanga City received 78.1 million pesos, the biggest share from the fund. He said President Duterte told him that the funds of DOLE are money of the people which should be given back to the people. TUPAD is a community-based package of assistance that provides emergency employment for displaced workers, underemployed and seasonal workers for 10 to 30 days. Up next, the latest Pfizer vaccine doses that arrived in the country are set to be deployed to provinces. And basketball star Pau Gasol is set to retire his jersey. Back after a quick break, stay with the PNA Newsroom.
Ako po si Sergeant Munoz ng Philippine Air Force para sa kampanya na Disiplina Muna na pinangungunahan ng DILG. Proud po akong sabihin na bakunado na ako laban sa COVID-19. Kaya naman po panatag ang aking kalooban dahil alam ko na protektado ako at ang aking pamilya laban sa coronavirus. Bida ang may disiplina. Kaya naman magparehistro at magpabakuna na para sa ligtas na pamilya at ligtas na bayan.
Ang disiplinadong Pilipino ay rehistrado para maging bakunado. Kaya tayo na po't magparehistro at magpabakuna para sa ligtas na pamilya, ligtas na bansa. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
The Department of Health, or DOH, is prioritizing provinces in the deployment of the freshly delivered Pfizer vaccine doses. Health Undersecretary Carolina Vidal Taino, who welcomed the arrival of the U.S.-made jabs Wednesday night, said the vaccine could last up to 30 days when stored between 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. The total Pfizer doses delivered to the Philippines are now over 17 million. In Metro Manila, the vaccination of children will also start on October 15 and will be piloted in selected hospitals. NTF COVID-19 Medical Advisor Dr. Teodoro Herbosa said the government targets to inoculate as many as 400,000 children aged 15 to 17 in the initial Metro Manila rollout. Meanwhile, almost 1 million doses of Pfizer COVID-19 vaccines arrived in Cebu before dawn on Wednesday. DOH Region 7 said the vaccine arranged by the U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID, will be used to bolster inoculation of senior citizens and the most vulnerable sector in the region. Meanwhile, NTF COVID-19 Chief Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. expressed optimism that the country's daily vaccination rate will soon increase with more jab supplies arriving in the remaining months of 2021. The NTF earlier noted a decrease by as much as 12,000 in the average daily vaccination rate last month due to a surge in cases. The task force also cited the challenging vaccine rollout amid the surge of cases last month. About 47 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines have been utilized since the vaccination rollout began on the 1st of March. The World Health Organization reported on Wednesday that the number of new COVID-19 infections has decreased by 9% in a week. Over 3.1 million people contracted COVID-19 infection worldwide, while just more than 54,000 new deaths were reported from September 27 to October 3. The WHO recorded a significant decline in new weekly infections in Africa, the Eastern Mediterranean, Southeast Asia, the Western Pacific, and America. In Europe, the incidence has increased by 5%. Meanwhile, the U.S. reported the highest number of weekly infections to the WHO. As of October 5, there have been 235 million confirmed coronavirus cases, with 4.8 million fatalities worldwide since the beginning of the pandemic. A family belonging to an indigenous peoples group who joined the New People's Army surrendered to the military in Bukidnon on October 4. Man Oloron, a political guide of the NPA, and his wife Nili Salobo, together with their 11-year-old son, surrendered to the army at Sitio Malantao, Barangay Halapitan, San Fernando. Oloron said they joined the NPA after the communist group promised them a better life. The couple's son was turned over to the Municipal Social Welfare and Development Office to undergo an interview and stress debriefing. 88th Infantry Battalion Commander Lieutenant Colonel Christian James Vino, meanwhile, said the continuous recruitment of children soldiers and exploitation of IP communities are a clear violation of international humanitarian law. The Army plans to file a case against the NPA for recruiting minors. In continued efforts to rehabilitate the war-torn Marawi city, the Department of Science and Technology turned over a water system to a shelter as well as Starbucks to various schools. More on this from Claire Dighe.
The Department of Science and Technology, or DOST-12, turned over on October 6 a water system to Sector 8 Sagunsongan Transitory Shelter in Marawi City to address the concern on the water supply of residents in the area. This project was under the support program to Marawi Rehabilitation, Reconstruction and Recovery through Science, Technology and Innovation, and was said to have been conceived originally by former Regional Director Zenaida Hajira of Flaidan.
At this point, may pakita natin na ang DOST ay patuloy na tumutulong. This is a turning point wherein may pakita natin ang continuous support ng DOST-12 dito sa Marawi. Malayo na kami kay Region 12 kami, pero science and technology cuts across border. Especially so na ang pinupunta natin ay kadugo, kapatid natin.
The DOST-12 shared that at least 200 households can benefit from the water system stationed in Sector 8, and while the said sector only has 100 households, residents from other sectors also come by to fetch water from it. 3 more water systems are also set to be completed, which will be stationed in Sector 5 in the same transitory shelter, in the motor pool area, and in Barangay Patani. The DOST-12 likewise awarded a digital library called Starbook to various schools in Marawi City and in Lanao del Sur to offer easy access to research and technology.
Our Filipino researchers, students, and even entrepreneurs can access information through this Starbook. It is a digital library, very informative, very important.
35 Starbook sets were handed over to libraries of some of the colleges and departments of the Mindanao State University main campus, while 190 kiosks were given to institutions under Marawi City Schools Division. For PNA Newsroom, Claire Dighe of the Philippine Information Agency Ligan City Information Center.
In sports, NBA superstar and Spanish legend Pau Gasol announced his retirement from basketball at the age of 41. Gasol began his career with Barcelona in 1998 before moving to the NBA in 2001 to play for the Memphis Grizzlies. He later joined the Los Angeles Lakers and won 2 NBA titles for the franchise in 2009 and 2010. The 6-time All-Star also played for the Chicago Bulls, San Antonio Spurs, and Milwaukee Bucks during his 19-year NBA career. The Spanish center rejoined Barcelona in March 2021 to help his boyhood club win the Spanish League title. Gasol led Spain to win Olympic silver at the 2008 and 2012 games and bronze at the 2016 games. His team also won gold medals at the 2006 FIBA World Championship and the 2009, 2011, and 2015 Eurobasket tournaments. In our news overseas, a whistleblower has called on U.S. lawmakers to rein in Facebook after accusing the social media giant of causing damage to society in exchange for profit. In a testimony before the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science and Transportation, former product manager Frances Haugen said Facebook's products harm children, stoke division, and weaken democracy. Despite the company knowing the risk, she said the company chooses its profits over committing to change. Former product manager Frances Haugen previously leaked a trove of internal documents detailing the practices of Facebook to the Wall Street Journal. Facebook has refuted Haugen's allegations and questioned her knowledge of the issues she raised. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. It's the second to the last day of the filing of candidacy for the 2022 polls. We give you a roundup of who's in and who's out in the race for national positions. The Commission on Elections sets rules in dealing with the last-minute COC filers as it expects an influx of candidates beating the candidacy filing deadline on Friday. President Rodrigo Duterte stands firm on his move prohibiting cabinet officials from attending Senate hearings on the purchase of personal protective equipment amid the pandemic, saying he has to protect them from insults from senators. And over 800,000 doses of Pfizer COVID-19 vaccines arrive in the country and is expected to beef up inoculation in the provinces reeling from a surge in COVID-19 infections. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear your face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And it is 79 more days before Christmas Day. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. We tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day.